Welcome to my top 5. Viewer discretion is advised. This is not for the faint of heart. The heart that silenced two men. Terry Cottle lived a troubled life, dropping out of high school, cheating on his first wife whom he had 2 daughters with, and ultimately ending in Terry's suicide. He was meeting his boss's wife Cheryl Sweat in secret, which led to divorce. 9 days after the divorce went through, he married Cheryl. Terry still contacted his ex-wife in secret, having her call him at his work so his wife wouldn't find out. They split up for a while, and he moved in with his sister who was pregnant. She needed the room he was staying in for a nursery and told him, "If you love her and you want to make this work, then you will go home and be with her." He did, but 3 weeks after moving back in with his wife, they had a huge argument. She took off her wedding ring and threw it. By morning, they agreed that Cottle should leave, and as he prepared to depart, he went to the bathroom and took his life with a .22. It entered his skull behind his right ear with no exit wound. On March 20th, 1995, after 4 days in the trauma unit in Charleston, South Carolina, Cheryl, with her father-in-law's wishes, took him off of life support to donate his organs. From there, 57-year-old Sonny Graham, after waiting more than a year, received a long-awaited phone call that there was a donated heart ready to be transplanted. 6 months after the heart transplant, he had noticed new cravings for things such as beer and hot dogs, which he later discovered to be some of Terry's favorite foods. In 1996, he insisted that a letter be sent to the heart donator's family. He wanted to thank Terry Cottle's wife in person. In 1997, Sonny and his wife had gone to have dinner with Cheryl Cottle, and Sonny could not keep his eyes off of the 30-year-old widow. Sonny fell in love with Cheryl at first sight, and at first the feeling was not mutual. Cheryl ended up marrying another man, and soon after, Sonny's wife had discovered his feelings for Cheryl. Both couples had separated, and Sonny and Cheryl moved in together in 2001. They got married in 2004, and in the next 4 years, their relationship had followed eerily similar patterns as Terry and Cheryl's. In 2008, on April 1st, Sonny ended his life the same way Terry did, by putting a 12-gauge Remington shotgun to his mouth and pulling the trigger, again in his throat and in the right side of the head. The real-life entity case. On August 22nd, 1974, started a 10-week investigation of Doris Bither in Culver City, California. Doris lived with her daughter and 3 sons. She was a heavy alcoholic who suffered abuse from her parents and reportedly passed that abuse on to her children. Dr. Barry Taft thought it would be an in-and-out situation, but that wasn't the case. Doris, including her children, claimed to see these entities on more than one occasion. Doris also claimed that the entity would physically attack her, including rape her, but it was not until they saw the intense bruises in her inner thighs and all over her body that they would start to believe her. Dory's oldest son would admit to seeing her mother being tossed around the room, and if tried to intervene, would be thrown by an unseen force. Eager to see these entities, the investigators had her call out to them. Lights started manifesting around the room and a manly apparition appeared, to which one investigator fainted. Here is what appears to be an unexplained arc of some sort, not curving to the corner of the room. These entities were said to have thrown multiple objects around and ripped things off the walls of her room on several occasions. Doris and her son said they have both been struck multiple times with these objects. Also, certain music was said to increase the activity dramatically. They believe that Dory's daily alcohol abuse and the abuse of her children may have manifested and increased the poltergeist activity. With what little information and photographs they had about the whole encounter, it's hard to say what really happened in that house, leaving many to question if any of it was real or entirely made up. But what if it was? It isn't the first or last we will hear about these stories. The Enfield Horror. The forest of southern Illinois, also known as Devil's Kitchen, is said to be abandoned even by Native Americans who say the land is sacred. Early settlers believe it's cursed, Either way, it's still well avoided. People have reported seeing strange sights and sounds like unexplained balls of light, apparitions, screams in the night, and other unsettling types of phenomena. But this story is about a man named Henry McDaniel, who was among the first reported to encounter the Enfield Horror. According to him, on the evening of April 25th, 1973, he heard scratching on his door, and when he opened it, he couldn't believe what he had seen. He claimed it was about 5 feet tall, had 3 legs, a short body and short arms coming out of the breast region, with eyes as big as flashlights and grayish-colored skin, and it was trying to get into his house. If you had seen what Henry swore he had seen, would you let it in your house? He quickly grabbed his pistol and opened fire. Henry knew he hit it, as it hissed like a wildcat and scampered away. He claimed it covered 75 feet in 3 jumps and disappeared back into the forest. He had quickly called the police, and through further investigation they found what looked like tracks from a dog, except the print had 6 toe pads, 2 of which were over 4 inches long. Since then, it has been seen by few others. One was Greg Garrett, who lived behind McDaniel, who was attacked by the beast, and another by Rick Rainbow, who is a news director of radio station WWKI in Kokomo, Indiana. Teresita Basa's spirit solves her own murder. It was February 21st, 1977 in Chicago, Illinois, when firefighters arrived at Teresita Basa's apartment unit to find her unclothed, burned remains, with a kitchen knife sticking out of her chest and covered by a mattress. It quickly turned to murder, but after a couple months the case went cold, until Detective Joe Stachula found a note on his desk, telling him to contact Dr. Jose Chua in Skokie, Illinois. It seemed his wife Remy Chua was being possessed by the spirit of the murdered girl. While being in this trance-like state, she claimed to be the spirit of Teresita Basa. She had stated the name of her murderer was Alan Showery. Detective Stachula did not believe her and wanted proof of her claims. She said that Showery was in her apartment to fix her television, but ended up stealing her jewelry, stabbing her, and burning the place down. She gave names and phone numbers of people who could identify the jewelry. They brought Showery in for interrogation, and he told detectives that he was on his way to fix her television when she canceled and he went home to fix an electrical problem. Showery's girlfriend stated that he knew nothing about electrical problems, and that she had also been given jewelry as a late Christmas gift. Under the pressure of the new evidence, Alan Showery confessed to the murder. The Black-Eyed Kids. It was 1996, somewhere in Texas, and just another day for Brian Bethel. It was nighttime, and he was parked next to a movie theater, writing a check to pay a bill, and about to drop it into a drop box. Busy in his writing, he was startled to hear a knock on his driver's side window. There were 2 young boys between the ages of 9 to 12. He cracked the window and was immediately stricken with soul-wrangling fear and had no idea why. The 2 boys said they needed a ride. They wanted to see a movie but had left their money at home, and again, they had asked for a ride. Nothing out of the ordinary, other than the fact that the fear of the 2 boys was getting more and more intense. They said they were just 2 kids, and that it wouldn't take long. He then violently reached to lock his car, breaking the gaze of the boys, and when he looked up, both boys had been staring at him with coal black eyes. Fear had blown up in his mind and his heart dropped as he rolled his window up and put his car in reverse. The boy knocked on his window as he was backing out, and full of anger kept saying, "We can't come in unless you tell us it's okay. Let us in." He drove out of the parking lot in sheer terror, almost hitting other parked cars in the process. As he pulled away a few yards, he looked in his rearview mirror, and the boys were gone, with nowhere to have run out of sight as quickly as it happened. And on a more general note, this is not the only time I've heard this story.